Live, Believe Nation, happy Monday. Another start to the week. It's a great day to have a great day, right? Monday's my mentoring day, so I spend the day mentoring my team. We've got 36 people, I think, on the team now. And man, can you do so much more when you have people around you to help? And no matter how big your company is now, maybe you're just a company of one, maybe you got some people. The first person I hired was part-time on my team. I've had volunteers on the team. But when you can start immediately thinking, hey, I want to involve more people on the team, you just get more stuff done. And then treat them like humans with real goals instead of just robots and monkeys to get work done for you. That's when life starts to get really good. So if you don't have a team yet, start thinking about it. Even if it's part-time, you don't need to hire somebody full-time, but get part-time people on to help you get your mission accomplished. Even if you're trading stuff, you help them, they help you, just to start getting more momentum and then treating them like real people. They have goals, ambitions, desires. That's when momentum really starts to happen. Anyway, here doing an IG Live. Great to have you guys on board. I see Lisa here in the chat. We're going to bring her in. Value. And let's have some fun. Happy Monday. It's great to be here. All right, here we go. I think I sent the invite. Oh, you got to flip the camera.
How do we do that? There we go.
Ho-ho!
Hi, we could go this way, right?
There we go. It's happening.
Right. We tried to get it right before this because we usually do ours in, he has longer arms than me. We do ours in landscape.
So we'll squeeze in together, but we love doing that.
I like it. There you go. Well, yeah, Instagram is a vertical format. Anyway, welcome aboard, guys. Happy Monday.
You too.
These amazing members from Movement Makers. And so what do we got? How can I help? What are we talking about today?
Okay, so we want to talk about some strategic marketing and exposure. You know, we're involved a lot with the domestic violence community, and we're honing it in to focus on providing expert strategic guidance to people involved in high conflict relationships, divorces, and co-parenting situations so they have the best chance to get a good outcome in court as well as beyond. So it's domestic violence, but we really focus on like people stuck in the family court system. So we have a really, really awesome engaged audience on Instagram. And often we'll put up a quote or something. I used to be a high school English teacher, so we'll put something up and then it starts this whole discussion. What's great is our people will interact with each other and they'll share resources. So I feel really lucky because I feel like it's a replication of my former classroom, but on Instagram.
And it's our big goal for 2021 to get our names out there, you know, to make a big splash, get attention, build authority, things like that.
Yeah, so we started doing some podcasts, Instagram Live. We have interviews. We recently started a YouTube channel, and we know that's your thing. So I think we want to talk a little more about like how to work YouTube, or if there's another channel that you think might be more appropriate.
Yeah, and it's all around domestic violence.
Yes.
It's not always physical. So
right.
People who don't understand this world think it means, you know, physical violence. It can be emotional, it can be psychological, lots of different types of abuse fall under that umbrella.
Right, and that's and there's been things changing. I know you're in Canada, but we're in America, and one of our big victories, especially in the state of Connecticut recently, was we passed a domestic violence law or legislation which incorporates the coercive control. Have you heard of that?
No, but I get the sense, but go ahead.
Okay, so coercive control expands the legal definition of domestic violence. So many of us in these toxic relationships have no idea that we're being abused because we think, oh, I'm not being hit. I don't have any bruises. Like mine is not as bad. So people don't understand emotional abuse, psychological abuse, financial abuse, which can manifest in someone who has all access to the money and doesn't share information. And the power dynamic is different. So Connecticut just became the third state in America to pass this legislation, and we hope that more states here will pass it so that people stuck in family court can have the judges look at the other issues surrounding, you know, what's going on in their relationship, mainly to keep themselves and especially their children safe.
Almost everybody we work with, it involves children in custody. We hardly have anybody who comes to us with, oh, I don't have kids, we're fighting over money. It just doesn't happen. It's because kids are the most important thing.
Right, and it's extreme situations.
So two things come to mind that will help you, to your point. How do we make our mark in 2021, big splash? The first is tapping into other people's audiences. And then the second is building your own audience. And building your own audience is great. You're doing it on Instagram. We could go bigger. YouTube definitely home. We could tap into that. It's a longer growth cycle, but it's more sustainable. It's long term, and what you're doing is so valuable that, you know, in a year and 2 years and 3 years, in fact, you're still spreading this mission, right? It's not that you just care about this for the next 3 months. So we want to be building an audience, but I think you've got an opportunity right now. The faster way to grow is other people's audience. So let's start there. Anything that's newsworthy, you should be on top of it and be the face and the authority. So, you know, coercive control, I've never heard of that before, but it just passed. You should be talking to every media outlet as well as social media people who are talking about it to share your perspective on it. So I don't know if coercive control is now going to become a national issue, or people are now saying, look what they just did in Connecticut. We should bring this in Florida. We should do this in Colorado.
Yes, it is.
Right? It's state by state, but it is a national movement.
It's like becoming like another Me Too growing
Makes
movement.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you should be the face of it. So easy ways to look at it. One, anybody doing hashtag coercive control on Instagram or Twitter, you want to be messaging them.
Okay.
Right? In their stories and in their posts. They're doing hashtag well, Twitter doesn't really do the stories, but anybody doing hashtag coercive control, you want to know who they are. You can search, you can find them, and you want to be responding to them. Any media that's covering it, you want to be. They always interview experts. Why can't you guys be the experts?
Excellent. Yep.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, I did live testimony for Jennifer's Law in Connecticut, so that's been broadcast all over the place.
Right, but that was a one-off. Now it needs to be consistent. So when they're thinking about passing it in Florida, what are the pros and cons? Everybody's going to write about this. Every time there's an article, they always have an expert with them. You're making the reporters' lives easier by being the expert to talk about it. Because now they're saying, oh my God, who is an expert on coercive control, who actually knows what they're talking? Here you guys are. Like, perfect.
You just made me think of something. I haven't seen it in quite a while, but there was some resource called Help a Reporter Out, or HARO. Are you familiar with that? Does that still exist?
Still exists, still is out there.
What is that?
That's so reporters will post their requests. Hey, we need an expert to talk about XYZ. And then you can respond. A lot of it is going to be not junk, but a lot of it is going to be irrelevant, especially to what you're trying to do is super irrelevant. So what I would be looking up is who has talked about, coercive control is the new thing inside the bigger thing of domestic abuse.
Exactly.
Right?
Yep.
So a reporter in Florida may not be even familiar with coercive control yet, because it's too new. But they've maybe written about domestic abuse before. Those are the people that you need to start reaching out to. Like the sports reporter doesn't care, probably, right? But the person who's written about that's what it is. But like there's a lot of domestic violence in sports, right? I mean, it's a real thing. But for the most part, the sports reporter is not going to care about coercive control. But the person who's written about domestic violence before does care. And now you reach out, you just make a list, whether you guys are going to do the research yourself or you hire a virtual assistant. Basically, any reporter across America who's written about domestic violence, we want a list. And you just go one by one. You can use Google News as a great resource, type in domestic violence, and see who's written about it before. So those reporters actually care about it. You don't have to convince them to talk about domestic, like the advocacy group, the advocacy work is not, that's the long-term mission, but it's not what we're trying to do right now. We're not trying to put it onto our, Biden for him to care more about domestic violence. We want to talk to the people who already care about domestic violence and talk about coercion control and what it is. For some people, may not have ever heard about it, why it's so important, what's happening in Connecticut, and now, all your testimony and everything, and now how can we bring that to whatever state that they care the most about, because that's where they're reporting from. So just make that list Again, Google News is a great resource. You can hire a virtual assistant to help you. You could do it yourselves. You can have somebody, you can call out to your community to say, hey, we're trying to build this list of reporters who care about domestic violence. Please help us.
I love that.
If
they will answer. Every time we ask them anything, they answer more than we can imagine. I can't even keep up with the answers. So I love that.
You could do a shared Google Doc with everybody to say, we want to build a list of 1,000 reporters across America who care about domestic violence. Please put in their name, their email, and a link to an article that they've written about domestic violence.
That's a great idea.
I love this.
Yeah, and then you mobilize them, and then you can, if you're reaching out to them, you can say, hey, Susan, I saw you wrote this article about domestic violence in Miami. Have you heard about coercion control? Because here's what just happened in Connecticut that I think would be relevant to Miami, right? And then that's the email you send, and that's the voice message you leave, and then they're calling you back up, right? So if it's targeted, now you start building branches and putting your footprint everywhere. So that's an easy step one, right? And if you have a community to help you do it, that's fantastic. And any new trend inside domestic violence, we want to be hopping on. Does the whole Britney Spears thing fall into your review?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I only ask because that's more father, daughter instead of, husband, wife kind of thing. But that's hot. Like, what's your take on that? Now, and I don't really know all the details, but now she just finally got her own representation. She can have her own lawyer going to court. What's your whole thought on what was she put into again?
Some kind of trust.
I forgot the term of it.
Yeah, now she
had her decision making taken away.
She wouldn't really be a great fit for us because it's not about children, But I'm thinking of Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie.
Yeah,
that's one.
Yeah.
So.
Well, she does have kids. Well, anyway.
But certainly your message about looking for the big stories, that resonates. Perfect.
I think it's called conservatorship.
Yes.
Conservatorship. That's right.
That's right.
But so before Britney, nobody even knew what conservatorship was.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, a tiny, tiny, tiny percentage. So if you had even your own thoughts about conservatorship, even as it relates to what you do talk about and are inside dealing with kids and domestic violence, if you have thoughts on it, that's a great time to talk about it. And then any reporter who's covering the whole Britney situation, you can reach out and say, here's our thoughts. This is actually domestic violence. Here's what's happening. And here's...
You're actually making me think like you made Chris think before. So conservatorship comes down in our world to decision-making in family court. Who has control over decisions for the kids? That is a huge issue in our world regarding custody. That's something that people fight the hardest for, to make the decisions. So that translates beautifully.
Great. So, I mean, somebody in the chat too, Prairie Dodge is asking, what about Britney as a child? Does that tie into your...
We'd have to, I'd have to research a little more of her own story. I think we need to look closer at the Britney story, because I'm sure there's so many things we could pull out from her background about, we know power and control.
Yeah.
So that's the basis.
Again, Google News is your friend. Type in conservatorship, type in Britney Spears conservatorship, who's talking about it. Reporters are pretty easy to get to. Every single reporter who's written something on her has a Twitter account and is reachable. So you message them and you say, hey, we specialize in domestic abuse. This is a clear-cut case of domestic abuse. Now it's just from father to daughter, and we want to talk to you about conservatorship and how that impacts domestic violence, right?
Okay, let me ask you something else about once we contact reporters, because we interview people. Like, I went to your workshop on how to do a good interview, and I was commenting a lot, and I loved it. There were so many little tiny things that could make such a difference.
She's an amazing interviewer.
But anyway, but I was thinking that when we, often we'll interview someone and they'll interview us, and then we'll put it on our YouTube, but we don't know how to get that out there. But do you think, before we get to the whole YouTube discussion, what type of media do you think gets the most eyes? Like, I'm thinking video. What about the print? Like, what in your experience do you think really has the most impact? So
a lot of people are doing mixed now, right? I mean, the big media companies like Wall Street Journal, et cetera, still have some name cachet. It's not as strong as it used to be, but still means something. Like for you to say that you were quoted in the Wall Street Journal or New York Times or Forbes, it still carries some weight and just adds even more credibility to your movement and who you are and what you're trying to do. But all of those outlets also have online versions, also have social media accounts, also have YouTube channels, also have, right, et cetera. So I think anything that is newsworthy, it's great going to the news outlets because then people comment on it. Because people will watch that thing and then to say, I've never heard of this coercion control thing. And then they start a whole discussion around coercion control. Like any hashtag coercion control conversation, you should be involved in.
You know, a lot of those people are going to have that like aha moment where they read about it, they go, oh my God, this is what's happening to me.
Yeah.
We see that all the time.
Constantly.
Yeah. People have already said that in the chat right here. Said that's me.
Really? I can't see the chat. I just see, I see little floating hearts.
There you go. But people will for sure say it. They've never heard of it before. There was never a name for it before. They didn't know that they had rights, that this is actually wrong. You know, I mean, they just don't know. And so when you can be, by going to the major media and they spread it, it creates conversations that then you can be a part of across social, right? So anytime people, if the Wall Street Journal talks to you and then posts on their social about it, there's gonna be a whole bunch of feedback in the comments. You can respond to all of those comments, sharing your perspective, clearing things up that maybe they didn't go deep enough on, because they're never gonna go, you know, it's headline reading for the most part for the article. So there's always intricacies and caveats and further details that you can then be a part of the conversation. You can even mobilize your army to anytime you get featured somewhere, like, hey, let's all show up in the comments and just answer questions and show love and support and dispel some of the negativity or the misconceptions that are out there. Because anytime you're introducing something new, you have people already.
And like I said, we have a great engaged community. And you know, one thing about our community in general, that we do have some crazies, but they are so respectful to each other even when they disagree. It's amazing.
It's not like you see on Twitter all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really, Lisa has really cultivated a great community on Instagram.
Yeah, we're really proud of our community.
Well, I mean, and that's a credit to you guys, because you're trying to be a force for good, or Lisa.
I didn't see that except on the camera.
I do lots, but she's the Instagram master.
Well, I think a lot of it is like being in, you know, having a classroom background and insisting on a certain level of respect from the beginning. And if you can't meet that expectation and respect each other, then bye.
Yeah, you're attracting the right people in, and that's amazing. And especially if they have a hand, like if you ask them to help you curate the list of 1,000 reporters.
Oh, I love that idea.
And then you reach out and say, hey, one of the, you know, you guys helped me get this interview with Wall Street Journal. The article just came out. Here's the article. Here's the Twitter link. Here's the Facebook link. Let's all show up and give love and provide some extra context in the comment section for all of them. It feels like it's not just Lisa's thing, it's our thing.
That's exactly what happened. So we're doing Facebook Lives, but then we started doing 2 Instagram Lives, like once a week, like a Q&A thing. And so we picked well, he likes to talk more in terms of many more questions, but I'm like, let's do one question. So put one question out in the morning. We usually get hundreds of responses within a few hours, and then we'll curate the responses and share not just our thoughts on the question on the Q&A, but other people's. And it does have that same feeling you just mentioned where everyone's a part of it. Everyone makes it good. And we do get a lot more comments from doing that.
Yeah, so your fastest path is that. Your fastest path is the 1,000 reporters. You're taking whatever's hot right now. So top of the list are coercion control and Britney Spears. And then whatever some baseball player is, you know, beats his wife again and gets let off. Like, what's your take on that, right? That's the story for the next 48 hours. And so you're gonna share that. And any other kind of emotional abuse too that pop up. But the more it's already in the media, it's already on everybody's tongue, and you're just giving your perspective on it, it's so much easier to win versus, hey, here's this thing that nobody cares about, but you should.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. We think that the wave of coercive control is starting to come. because
for
Connecticut
sure.
was the third, New York is next, Pennsylvania, and a lot of our people are in Florida and Texas, and they're really starting to mobilize. So
I believe it. But
yeah.
so now if you can tie into something that's already a national discussion and then bring up words like coercion control and what that means, now you can really start to blow it up. So
Yeah.
you're just latching on the current trends and then sharing your perspective. And again, in a ethical way, in a not, you're not here to slam anybody. You're going to do it with positivity and optimism and light, right? Like you're going to use your core values, but still it's important. And this message has to get out there. So tapping into current domestic violence stories and trends, just go to Google News and type in domestic violence and see what's showing up. And it's sad. I mean, how many stories are going to pop up every single day?
For sure.
Right? And I mean, you guys know that world better than I do. But still, it's rampant.
I know what's reported is a tiny fraction of what actually goes on. I mean, it's like 1 in 3 women, 1 in 5 to 7 men, and people mostly don't talk about it because, like you said, and we said earlier, there's no word for it. If you don't have like physical bruises, most people think that theirs doesn't count. They will minimize it. Or they'll say, even when they come to one of our support groups, they'll say, well, mine isn't that bad.
They apologize for describing a situation. Oh, it's not that bad. I'm really sorry for taking your time. And we're like, oh my God, no. And then one woman described being thrown out of a car.
A moving car, but saying, mine's not that bad though.
Yeah. It was my fault because I upset him or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. Anyway, so if you're tapping into, like, you just go to Google News, type in domestic violence, domestic abuse, there's stories every single day coming out. All of those reporters could then now be talked to about coercion control. So that's a daily thing you guys could be doing. So that's the easy one. That's immediate. And that's, unfortunately, it's so prevalent in the news that it creates a massive opportunity for you and that we all wish didn't exist, but it unfortunately does. And so that's the easiest way to get it out to the world. So that would be every day. Like every day you're talking to another 20 reporters, another 20 tweets out to more reporters talking about what you're doing. You send out 20 tweets a day, 20 emails a day, 20 Instagram DMs a day. You're going to get 1 to 2 every day, reporter calling you back. And then that's another, it may be Wall Street Journal, or maybe Channel 4 News in Atlanta, right? But those, everything counts. Those all count.
Let me ask you something so my background is as a writer, and I used to write articles and was published in magazines and stuff, not about this issue, but on other issues. Do you think it would be helpful to say that I had published in blah, 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 as if like more collegial, or that doesn't matter because that was a long time ago?
The more you have to add to your branding, the better, so that you look the part. So the more that, whatever media you've been in, you leverage that name, and then you just keep putting in bigger names as you get bigger opportunities. So when you get,
I have been quoted in the New York Times.
Perfect. So that's like
totally unrelated though.
Yeah, but that's still more relevant than that you used to write articles, or that you used to be.
And I've been on
teacher.
CNN, so I could use that. They didn't, it's about something totally different too, but still.
I've been on New York Times and CNN. Well, those organizations still bet on you, and that still happened, and it's there. So yeah, I've been on New York Times, CNN, and the best thing I would do is use your, if you used to write articles and you're great with copy, use your copywriting skills to help them craft what the title of, what the headline of the article is going to be.
Oh, we're really good at that. Yeah. We're both writers.
Great. So use
writing
that.
Copy is easy.
The more you can make their job easier, the better.
Okay, that's like in family court too with the judge.
Yeah, like especially
easier.
I used to, back when I was doing PR for my own company, I would have a lot of media outlets just copy and paste my press release and release it as a story, because I wrote it like a story. Like it wasn't a press release, hey, call me for details. I wrote it like an actual story. And some people would never even let me know. They just took it, copy pasted, released, and then I'd see my name in Google News, like, oh, they published that, that's cool. So using your copy skills to create good headline, sub-headline quotes from you that copy paste, authority to show that you've been in publications really, really matters. I think that's, the coercion control is the trend for the next 3 years, maybe. Brittany is the trend for the next, couple months. There's always gonna be some new thing to pop on. I think that's the easiest one.
Yeah.
I know we're kind
Think
of
about press releases before we go to the next thing. So with a press release, do you have like a amount that, like a set amount that you think is good? Because I haven't done a press release in a long time, but I was thinking like 3 paragraphs, or does it depend? Because usually people like short.
I would do a 1-pager.
1 page?
Headline, subheadline, and then treat it like an article. Like, go read their articles and see how they're doing it. But there's always some context. There's opinions, there's stats, there's data, there's quotes from experts. And by the way, you guys are the experts. You're quoting yourself, right? Of course. Well, why not? And most of it could honestly just be copy paste, depending on, you have to make some adjustments. So like if you're talking to the Miami Herald, you're swapping in Florida numbers. How many people in Florida go through domestic violence every, right? And the more you can customize, like, yes, it's a national issue, but hey, we paid attention to your local market. That means something. It's easier for them to go publish because that's who they are. Anyway, I know we're kind of bumping up against the clock, but just quickly on I just believe in that so much. Like, I think even if that's all you did, that's a fantastic way to start getting the message out there. In terms of YouTube content, I would just take all of the thoughts that you have and turn that into video. So your take on all the things you're reaching out to reporters about, your take on domestic abuse, your evergreen advice on how to get out of it. Like, how do I summon the courage how do I even recognize that I am in domestic abuse, right? Like, let's start there. How to know if
you really hit right on it, because the name of our business has been there, got out.
Yeah.
So getting out is what it's all about.
And I'm thinking, we have done blogs for the last couple of years. I could turn that into, we keep saying we could take it and redo the content into short videos, like a bunch. I mean, we have so much content.
And not
we just
short,
haven't
long,
put it out
long.
there too much.
10 minutes plus.
10 minutes plus? Not the 3-minute short ones? Really? What's your max? What's
no
the
max.
Sweet spot? No max?
Honestly, the best sweet spot we're finding now is 1 to 3 hours. People are going to YouTube to learn.
Okay.
Where do you learn about this stuff? There's no high school course. There's no university course. Your guidance counselor doesn't know what to tell you. Your friends don't know what to tell you. Like, where are you going to learn to actually learn this stuff? Like, you guys have done it, and the knowledge is in here for both of you. But how do people go and learn about this? They're going to Instagram and Facebook. Like, Instagram is quick hits, is to get inspired, but they're going to YouTube to learn. So if you
I'm thinking, like, how do you fix a dishwasher? Show me how. It's a similar thing. Like, what do I do in this situation? It's almost like, it makes me think when you say, how do people find out? I think initially people look at Google and will be like, why is he doing this? What is this behavior? They Google the behavior, they figure out what it is, but this takes it to another step.
But some people use YouTube as step number 1. They don't go to Google.
Mm-hmm.
They go to
really
YouTube,
good to know.
Especially for learning. Like, visual people, some people love to learn from articles and they'll go to Google and search, but visual learners want to see it. And they want to look for an expert. Sense. So they go to YouTube as step number 1. And they say, how do I know if I'm in a domestic violence situation?
Exactly. That's right.
How do you feel about advertising on YouTube?
What's that?
How do you feel about advertising on YouTube?
If you have a course or something, you can. Yeah. The best ads are towards your own audience. So the more you build up your own audience, and then you say, hey, we've got this program, or we've got this service, or we've got this XYZ, is better. I think you'll just get a lot of business just because you become the authority. Like, think of YouTube and social media as 101, as basics, as intro, as like, so many people don't even know they're in domestic violence, or they don't even acknowledge that they kind of feel it, but they won't acknowledge it. They are unwilling to tell anybody, their friends, family, like, that it even exists. And they feel like it's hopeless, and that, okay, well, I am here, but I'm stuck and I can't get out, right?
Right, and all the shame associated with it,
yeah,
and all the trauma stuff.
And all the people who mean well, but ask somebody who's in an abusive relationship, why don't you just leave?
Yeah,
that is the worst thing.
Yeah, or why did you stay so long? Right. Horrible thing to say. Horrible.
It's like asking your uncle who is a plumber to, like, how do I become a millionaire entrepreneur or something, right? I mean, it's just, you're asking the wrong.
No, but this is like offensive.
Yeah.
like to say it because it makes them feel even worse, like they already are destroyed, and then it makes them feel like they're
Like it's their own fault.
Yeah, like it's
Like
their
it's
own
their own fault
They're
for
already
not
blaming
leaving.
themselves.
Yeah. So those are all videos. Like all the things that people ask are videos that are 10 minutes plus, and if you can go an hour, you go an hour. Like it's going to be like some of those videos will be life-changing for people. Like those, not just life-changing, you could save lives.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
Like we've
already had that experience.
We haven't gone down the suicide route, but that's, you know the numbers better than I do. That's the only way out that people think of. So your videos will actually save many people's lives. And then so that's 101 is the basic stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They pay for access to you. When they watch your videos, when they read about what you're doing, they're like, I need to get in touch with them. I have this situation. I need help. I'm going through this court case and I don't know what to do. Or I just need somebody I don't know if you want to sell coaching services or not, but
Yes,
Absolutely.
he just got his high conflict divorce coach certification last week.
So going through the high level, how to deal with things is not good social media content. It's hitting people at too high a level. It's the introduction, basic, and then what people pay for is the more advanced stuff and the access to you. It's like, I love it. You guys are speaking my message. I mean, I just love your vibe. I love everything about you. And I feel like I can't do this alone. Can I hire you? Do you have a program? Do you have a group? It's like, yes, we do. Here's our website. Here's all the options, right? So those two things, like the media every day, your 1,000 reporter list, and you're messaging 20 to 25 reporters every day with whatever they just wrote an article about. You can scale that to hundreds a day if you wanted to, because there's so much content coming out on it. And then you create your own content geared towards the total beginners. YouTube first, and then wherever else you want to share it, it's fine. But YouTube first, because that video you make today, how to recognize that you're in an abusive relationship in 5 years, unfortunately, is still going to be relevant to people. And YouTube is a place where your content lives forever. So you pair those two things, that's how you start building your brand. And there's so little great content on it. There's so little like actual experts on it that it's just
really. I'm surprised.
Go to YouTube and type in. Go to YouTube. Like this is homework tonight. Go to YouTube. Type in domestic violence. Look at the videos that show up. There's going to be a lot of videos, but watch their videos and tell me that you couldn't do a better job. Not that you are better, that you're just you're just so amazing, but just you care more. You've worked with more people. You have the expertise. You can do a better job. And by you not putting a message out there, it's actually doing a disservice, Like there will be videos out there of saying, well, it's your fault. And why don't you just leave? Yeah, just leave. That's going to be their advice, right? Okay, so leave.
Yeah. Yeah.
So your videos need to show up to help them make a better decision. Now, I'm saying that's for everybody, but in every thought leadership category, and you guys are thought leaders and experts, in every category, I found that the quantity of good content, first of all, the quantity of content is very low compared to how many people are actually looking for it. Like, the numbers on domestic violence. How many people are actually looking at it? Tons. How much content is actually on YouTube? Not that much. And how many of the not that much is actually really good? Almost zero.
Wow. I'm floored, but I'm glad to hear that.
Well, I mean, go, prove it right. You can go after this to YouTube and search domestic violence and see how many really high quality, not production. Like, I don't care about how fancy, the lighting is. It's the quality of thought, the knowledge. Like, are you actually sharing good information? Go and search it. Like, how many creators are legit doing a really, really good job of getting the message out there? It's going to be very, very few, if any. So that's the whole for you guys to go in and fill.
Wow.
That's great.
I know. Yeah. Excellent advice. Not surprised.
Guys. Well, we went a little over, but it's important, and super excited to see you guys win. And thanks for being a part of Movement Makers, and looking forward to the updates on making this movement happen.
Great.
Thank you so much for having us.
All right.
This was a lot of fun.
Much love, guys. Have a great week.
All right. To you too.
Bye.
Bye.